Hi, this is Chris O'Brien with the French Tech Journal, and I'm here today with Sylvain Zimmer, our
Hello,
business angel of the week. Welcome, Sylvain. Thanks for taking a moment with us.
thanks
Uh,
for having me.
um, so just to kind of kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional background, kind of what your main role is or your main background is professionally?
Sure. So I'm an engineer. I started, with an engineering school based in Grenoble called the NCMAG. And actually, at that time, I dropped out to build my first startup, which was called Jamendo in the music space. I built a few companies, and today I'm working as the head of the city office at Content Square.
Okay. And so your background is a technical one. You're an engineer, you're a developer, or that's your main skill set?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your investment thesis or your portfolio. Just starting off with the basics, when did you make your first investment and what sort of motivated you to get into angel investing?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur since 2004, and I had many friends, who were building startups, and I was just, like in that very early days of the Paris scene, where there wasn't that much companies, getting started. We had, Silicon Sentier, the Le Camping, which we did with one of my companies. You had La Cantine, so it was a very tight-knit community at the time. So we all knew each other, and the first investment I made was actually Sketchfab, which
Okay.
turned out to be widely successful.
Yeah.
And that was because I knew Cedric, the founder and CTO.
Yeah.
And so that really got me started. I think actually I was inspired, by someone who I want to thank, who's Jérémy Fin, who was the founder of Vertigo. We did a study trip to San Francisco together. I think that must have been in 2008 or 7. It was one of the first such trips, and so we toured a few companies in the Silicon Valley. It was great, and one thing he was doing, he was yeah. So I have I don't know how much it was, like 50K, and just put 5K in 10 startups.
Yeah.
And that was the first, I had heard of, like, small scale investing, let's say. But he seemed, really, really happy about it, and also, was making quite a nice network thanks to that. And so I think that really inspired me, and I kind of tried, to replicate the same model. My early investment thesis, it has evolved a bit since then, but was, quite the same actually, putting like small tickets, like from 2 to 5K, in as many companies as I could. And at the time, I hadn't done an exit myself as an entrepreneur. So basically, I was investing my salaries, every month into companies funded by friends, and I think as a byproduct of the ecosystem and the lower valuations at the time, and I don't know, like the period, so some of the early ones, yeah, turned out great, and that kind of motivated me to keep going and to expand that model.
So let's talk about you today. Do you know how many investments you've actually made up to this point?
Yeah, let me pull out my tracking. I have 120.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it evolved earlier. You were doing €5,000 tickets. What is your range today?
Yeah, I guess my range has widened. So, I'm doing from 1,000 euros in smaller ones to 2,500 usually.
Okay.
And I'd say the average maybe has stayed around 5K, probably.
Okay. But you said 2,500, maybe 25,000.
Oh, sorry, yeah, 25,000. Sorry.
Uh, so between 1 and 25,000. And then your deal flow, how has that changed? I mean, how are you finding companies? I imagine there's a lot of, having made that many, there's probably a strong word of mouth that, hey, Sylvain is active, reach out to him.
Yeah, sure. And you know, I'm really doing this not just because you know it's a financial investment which has been successful, but for sure what I've seen is that you know the value of the network you create doesn't scale with the amount you invest, but with the number of deals you do and the event, you know, the commitment and the you know the help that you can provide to some of the founders. So it has been great indeed, like trying to multiply across different sectors, across different geos, you know, the investments and getting great recommendations, you know, from founders. I think you know I also evolved in the sense where at the beginning I was trying to be smart, you know, like trying to pick my deals and saying, okay, like I will be extra smart, I will just pick the winners, and you can't really be that smart, you know, smarter than the market or smarter than luck. You know, it's not an exact science, and I think most of the success, as I see it, you know, comes from access. You know, some of the deals are clearly the best. The entrepreneurs are very experienced. The idea is great. The market is ready, and it's all about you know making it into those rounds and being recommended from the right people. So I think in that sense, it's a very positive ecosystem, because you know the more help you can provide, the more intros you can make yourself, then you know the more you kind of will be rewarded by paying it forward. You know, so
Yeah.
that has been really lately the focus. Yeah.
And so again, in terms of that deal flow, is most of that inbound now? Are you getting it from your network or from LinkedIn or people
Yeah,
coming?
I'm getting some inbound. Honestly, like I received like lots of emails, lots of LinkedIn's. I end up doing very few of them. What I mostly do is recommendations, either from founders, from friends. I'm also involved in as a small LP in quite a lot of funds, and usually with the you know the funds that like they kind of share their deal flow, or they would you know send some of the companies over. I think lately my deal flow has been a lot with the funds actually.
And how does that work with the funds? They sort of come to you and say, look, we're going to invest. We think this could be a good deal for you, but is it because the company's looking for something more? They're looking for a relationship with you or some sort of extra thing beyond the fund itself investing?
Yeah, some of the funds, you know, offer to their LPs to do like follow-on investments, or they would do like a bridge, or just have a, you know, a small amount that can be invested on the side. So that can happen. They can also share, you know, some of the rejects, like they didn't, you know, like choose to invest in the company because of can be any number of reasons, but for my own investment thesis and my risk level, that could be a better match. Um, and yeah, like, I mean, just like also sending you know some deals to funds has been a great way to build better relationships.
And so how do you've got this big deal flow coming in? How do you select from all of these now? Are there flags, indicators, certain things that catch your eye? If I'm pitching you, and I won't plan to pitch you, but if I'm sending you a cold email or something, is there something that really sort of catches your eye or makes you at least think about the deal?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, before I was trying to be smart. Today I'm like, I don't know if I'm trying to be smarter, but I kind of ask myself, like, is this a company I would build myself? You know, like, would I like doing that? Like, this is why I haven't invested in anything in Web3, blockchain, in ad tech, there are many spaces that I don't invest at all, just because yeah, they don't excite me, and
Yeah.
I think money is better spent on some other topics that are more critical to society and to the planet. So for sure, I'm looking for something yeah positive. I try to do half of my investment in impact companies. Uh, so that definitely, you know, kind of raises the attention I put into a deal. And yeah, I mean, just, you know, the funding team. like multi-entrepreneurs, you know, people that have successfully built a company before, I think have a greater chance of success, and so I also look much more closely to them, even if they have failed before. You know, I think it's a lot of lessons learned, and definitely take a better look, which I
Yeah.
think is the case with the funds as well. You know, like I think they have a special lane for repeat entrepreneurs. You are kind of fast tracked into their deal flow if you do that. So it's kind of the same. Um, and yeah, I think also today, you know, it's it's much easier than before to bootstrap a company, to get some revenue, to get some initial market fit. And so I think the companies I invest right now are, you know, either much earlier than that and completely blind, and this because I know the founders, or because the idea seems great, or a bit later, once, you know, they have shown that they can build, uh, and there is already some traction.
And once you've invested, are you hands-on advising, doing sort of extra stuff with them, or is it very passive? You put your money in and just step back?
So yeah, it varies a lot. Of course, with you know, more than 100 companies, I can be active in all. So some of them are very passive, and some of them are very active. Like, for instance, Sketchfab, I was actually writing code for them. So that was a bit on the extreme of the involvement, and they became good friends. And yeah, it was I did a few hacks with them. It was amazing. Some others, I help a lot actually with hiring. You know, like they struggle to hire some key technical people, or even they replace their CTO, and this is something I usually can provide some value in. And some others, yeah, we do kind of you know, like deep dive session with the CTO, just to get some feedbacks, and to try to help in some areas, because they they're always, you know, struggling in one area or another. And yeah, and some others, you know, it's really passive, just get the reporting, send some feedback, maybe asynchronously by email, but not much more than that.
Right. And you've mentioned a couple investments here, but beyond Sketchfab, are there other ones that you're particularly proud of, or that you count sort of as your big successes?
Yeah, let's see. Maybe Gourmet is one of my, you know, my proudest one. I did many of them in, you know, fake meats, because I thought that was really important, you know, for the future. Not necessarily because I'm vegan, or not necessarily for animal welfare causes, but more for, you know, like climate change reasons. But I guess both reasons are, you know, are as valid, for sure. And yeah, I ended up doing a couple. Some of them didn't work out, and Gourmet, I think is working pretty well. You know, they are making like foie gras, but built from stem cells.
Mhm.
Uh, and actually, you know, they sent a few samples to the investors, and yeah, it tastes amazing. Like, so I think they really have a shot. You know, I think foie gras was banned in New York, and in many places it might be happening. Probably not in France for a while, but yeah, sure, I think that there's a real demand for that product, and probably they might go even beyond that. So
Yeah.
I think it's really amazing to see them really like scale up, uh, continue to, yeah, to hire, you know, science staff. You know, they are not reselling anything. They are doing, you know, real science, real production, and that really feels like, you know, money well invested, even if it fails spectacularly. You know, like I was also investor in Agricool, uh, which I thought the idea was nice, you know, and it did fail spectacularly, let's say. But yeah, some of them, I think we will end up having a real impact.
Yeah. Any last thoughts just about your journey as an angel investor, or anything you'd say to entrepreneurs who want to reach out to you and pitch you?
Um, I mean, like, um, let's, you know, I think it's important to try to contribute something positive to the world, to the ecosystem, to society. Um, and probably, you know, that wasn't also like top of mind when I started doing companies, but I realize now that if we are entrepreneurs, we also have a responsibility to make things change for the better. And probably, like your time and your energy is better spent, like thinking about climate change than thinking about blockchain. That's just something I want to drop out there. Like,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like you should think about, you just have one life, you have one finite amount of time you can spend on your company. I mean, creating a company, hiring people, like being part of the economy is great. And I mean, it's a start, and I was very proud as an entrepreneur myself, to have created many jobs. But I think once you go beyond that, it's really about like, why am I doing this? What am I contributing to? And in turn, like now as an investor, I'm also trying to steer with just my small, my small contribution into those kind of fields and impact.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's been sort of amazing to see the explosion of the angel investing market here in France. And I appreciate you taking the time this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.